guys, welcome back to Show Up, Stand Out. My guest today is Justin Demers, and Justin helps you get clients and make sales with simple live videos. You know me, live videos is a big subject here. I've done everything I've done. My visibility, I attribute totally to live video. In fact, every time, my live video is like my go-to therapy when I'm not feeling well, over a long period of time. That's something that energizes me, and I love it. So I am so excited. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
I'm so excited because we can talk about so many things here, and so many different aspects. Not only just the videos and how powerful it is, the power of video of people seeing you, but maybe also about how you can do it, that you feel good about yourself, because that's also very, very important. You were not always the front of your business, were you?
No, I've at this point 13, 14 years of running and being a part of various businesses. And I always just kind of like hung out in the background, like doing my thing, helping people, building really successful businesses, but not really being the front and center of it. And this, like Click Go Live, is the first time where like you see my face. You see me doing the videos, the training, the ads, all those things. It's me. That's what people are connecting with. I think, actually, I know, and why it's been so successful so quickly.
But you look so confident. So a lot of people who are behind the scenes, they have this huge thing about being seen, and they told themselves, they told themselves, use any excuse in the book not to be there. And then you come along and you say, well, guys, I've always been behind the scenes. I've built, successful 7-figure businesses behind the scenes. And now I've just came out a few months ago and I'm doing these videos and I'm cleaning up basically with what I'm doing. And I'm doing so successfully, but it's all because I am there, and what you see is what you get.
Yeah. Part of my like video production background is studying the psychology. And so it's not just like making things look pretty, but it's understanding like how to make people feel a certain way with video. That's one of, my secret sauces, I suppose. And I learned that, perfection isn't what sells. And so people strive to be perfect on camera. They strive to have every word mapped out with a teleprompter, amazing lighting, great cameras. We think, because we have these like ideas that is what's going to sell. If I look more professional, I'm going to make more sales. And that's what holds a lot of people back. And what in being behind the camera, realizing the power of just being you, just being imperfect, just being real, that's what I lean into when I'm in front of the camera. So I don't get psyched out by, oh, what if I say or what if I misspeak, or what if I say the wrong word when I meant a different word? I just keep going. And I hear this from a lot of people, and either direct messages to me or people who buy my course is, you just seem so real. Like there's this world online of like really glossy marketers. And then here is this like Canadian guy who's like speaking truth and looking funny and wearing hats. But when you speak, I resonate with what you're saying. And I think that's the power. If anybody's listening and you're like, I'm scared to go live, or I'm scared to do videos because I have to be perfect. It's like, no, lean into your imperfections, because that's what that's what people connect with.
I absolutely agree. And in fact, I remember when I started 3 years ago, and, I look much better. My videos look much better now because, I have the lighting and, I know what colors to wear. And these are the things that I do things to make me feel good, because you have to feel good to be able to deliver anything. You have to be in a good energy. But I remember in the beginning, it was more important just to show up. And people were saying, Juliette, you're so raw and it's great. It's so refreshing. And even the best converting sort of webinar style training I had was when I stumbled on the price, when I couldn't say 997, and my dyslexia kicked in, and everybody who was watching, everybody converted, everybody went into my coaching program just because it was so funny to see me trying to sell. Imperfection 100% works. I have a client who is doing a lot of live videos, and during the COVID-19 lockdown, she's doing videos and she's trying on this tops. She has a boutique. She's trying on all the tops, all the clothes. She's on her own there, but she can get like a label got stuck somewhere. And you'd think that that would stop a person from showing up. But it doesn't, because the audience absolutely loves seeing someone who is a real person, like a friend.
Yeah, it comes down to connection. Like, especially during this time right now, like where people are isolated, but we still, as a human, crave connection. And
Absolutely.
so if you find your person, you're the type of person that you resonate with, then you're going to buy from them. You're going to support them. You're going to follow them. Whatever it is that they're asking you to do, you're going to do it.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
So one question, and you said, okay, well, we established that being perfect and actually just pick on yourself and saying, oh, I'm not professional enough, or I'm saying too many you knows and too many ums and I forget what I want to say. Those things are okay, embrace them. But there's still some things. What would you advise for people, because nobody wants to show up when they look completely horrible on video. And that can be very off-putting, and I think that really holds a lot of people back, because they take the phone, they go live, and then they look so bad that their self-esteem is really hurting looking back on this. Where is the place to start with this, in your opinion?
I think it's a mindset thing, where it's again understanding that like people are looking for connection. And so if you like, I just did a training for dog walkers recently. And so here's all these people that, they dog walkers, dog sitters, dog groomers. And so a simple connection piece for them could literally just be them walking their own dog now, right? Them just walking down the street and going live and talking about why it's important to keep your dog active, even in times where it's easy to be sedentary. And so that's not like a fancy live video. That's not a setup. It's literally your smartphone and you're walking the dog and talking about it. And I think that subtle mindset tweak of like, I don't have to teach, I don't have to sit down, I don't have to have this formal presentation. I can just add value in a way that's unique to my business, right? Because if I'm going live and walking my dog, I mean, I teach people how to do live videos, kind of makes sense, but for a lot of places that wouldn't necessarily be like a sales, quote unquote, tool. But if you're a dog walker or a dog groomer and you're interacting with dogs and going live, well, then you're going to be in your element because you love dogs. You're going to show up in a way that like is who you authentically are. And then people who also like dogs are going to love that as well. And so I think it's like, it really is like a mindset tweak of, we see people teaching and YouTube and all these places, and we think I've got to put together a 7 tips to type video. I have to teach and have a whiteboard and look like, and at the end of the day, you don't. Like you really don't. So I would say lean into whatever it is that you do, your niche, your industry, and what types of connection-based videos can you do where you will be in your element. So you're not going to be psyched out or freaked out.
So we're talking about connection, not necessarily, although they can sometimes be expert videos, because this is the need that I see in a lot of my students and people in my audience, where they think that showing up, they have to show up as an expert. But what they essentially creating is really like a bunch of boring, even if they do it with video, it's kind of boring, because every time you're showing up in that teacher's mode. And I always say, Facebook, for example, is a place where we hang out. Sometimes we want to watch something that is just, sometimes we want to watch somebody talking something that's irrelevant completely to their business, because that's what creates connection. In fact, when, say, the coronavirus started and this whole energy became so bad, for me personally, the way I shifted my energy was to go live and just do lives. I didn't prepare, didn't do anything. It wasn't expert trainings, even though I get so many people asking me still professional questions, because I think that that's the key. They still want to know what you know, but they want to see you walk your talk.
Yeah, it's a treadmill. Like if you go down that path of like the expert, you're literally like on a never-ending treadmill. And then it just becomes like this perpetuating thing where you're like, it's really hard for you to get off of it because it's all you know is teaching and adding value and all those things. But if you go back and look at any of the products you've bought, info products or courses or coaching that you signed up for, like, I'm willing to bet that there was something that they did that gave you a peek into who they are as a person that ultimately was like the motivator to why you signed up for them. Whether it's, I talk about my family. I have 2 kids, an amazing wife, and I'm always talking about my family. And the amount of people who connect with that is, it's kind of overwhelming. And the great thing about that is I make it like front and center, abundantly clear that family comes first. I'd make even the way that we've structured this business, I make it like abundantly clear. Like, this is, for me, family comes above everything, including my clients. And some people are like, how could you say that out loud? And I'm like, well, because when I do, I attract people who also put their family above anything. And so the amount of like parents I have as clients and the amount of like married couples that are my clients, like they resonate with that message. Like, hey, wait a minute. Like, here's this guy who puts his belief front and center of his business. I want to do that, or that's what I do as well. And so I don't get clients who are like upset if I say the things like, well, I put my family above everybody because my family is the world to me. I get clients who are like, yeah, duh, they should be the world to you.
Exactly. And I can totally relate, because that's exactly how I feel with my family. But there is also there's a psychological kind of trick. I know a lot of people overthink when it comes to, say, their ideal client, and you say you need to focus, you need to really know them. But the truth is that it's very difficult to know them without actually evidence that these are the things that you connect with, and sometimes people connect to you over things that you don't obviously think that this is what you're going to be connecting to. For example, for me, I've learned through my visibility that I really connect to people who love animals. Because if I saw a cat or a dog passing by at the back of you right now, I would be, first of all, I'd be like, extra level of love for you just because you had that cat at the back. It's just, that's how I am. And that's the same with people who are connected with me. Everyone, all my students, all my clients, they have pets. I didn't know that. And if somebody asked me what was my ideal client, and I'd said, well, they're animal lovers, I would never know that until I started showing up and until they connected. So if you do it in reverse, and that's what you pretty much just said, if you show up, and sometimes, and maybe like even more so than talking about expertise, but talk about who you are, what's important to you, or even mix the two together. The teacher mode just comes out of me. You will actually start learning who and on what subjects you are attracting people. And those are your perfect people. And then some of them will be your perfect clients. So it's interesting how we can do it completely differently. And then there is no overthinking.
Yeah, it's just leaning into who you are without fear of judgment. So you getting excited, like I have 2 dogs, they're upstairs. If they hopped in this room and you got excited, there isn't like a fear of you in your head where you're like, oh, I can't show excitement for the dogs. You're just like, I love dogs, I'm going to be excited. And that's it's the same thing when you go live. Like, you can't have that fear of, oh, what if someone judged me? Or, oh, what if I misstep? Or what if I say the wrong thing? It's like, then you get in your own head. And then as soon as you do that, you're self-editing, right? You're like, as you're speaking, you're thinking 3 steps ahead, which means you're not actually there. It's like when you're having a conversation with someone and they're not listening to what you're saying. They're there physically, but their head is like off in somewhere else. We don't connect with that. Like, it's not an experience that we like to be a part of.
It's so true. It's so true what you said. And you can see when somebody is doing a live stream, when they're actually calculating what's going to happen because of that thing, that they're just a little bit, they're there, but they're kind of, because I think humans, like, we exchange on this energy level as well. And we just intuitively feel that the energy is not there, that they're not present. And sometimes it's not maybe obvious to your logical mind, but your subconscious mind will know. And so you get this weird feeling about a person, and that can damage your willingness to follow them. And I agree with you. All my purchases of all the programs are always based on the person, how I fall in love with them. I just like them for their goofy things, and usually it's not much to do with their expertise itself. Of course,
it's amazing if you go back and trace that. There's 100 people that sell a course on Facebook ads, and there's probably a good overlap, right, between all of them. I mean, there's only so many things you can do with Facebook ads but you buy into the person, right? You connect with the person because that's your person. You want to be around them. You want to be supported by them. You want to help them. You want to invest in them. And we can't forget that. Like, that's such an important part in 2020. It's like showing up and being you so that you get the people that want to be around you.
Exactly. And that actually suits, if you're an introvert, guys, like me, who's like, likes to be on your own, the online world is perfect. You can meet people who are exactly like you. And then you start this little conversation and all of a sudden there's so many boxes that are ticked. And then you have a convenience of switching off and not being in the same room with the person as well, because you've expanded, your energy is finished. I love that about video, but I think that it's true. Show up on your live streams the way you are. That's already half the battle when you have to make sales. Let's talk a little bit about making sales, or how can we take that and turn it into, so we have the connection, everything, but how can we turn this into an actual sale then with video, in your experience and with how it works for you?
So there's people need to be told what to do. And I think a lot of people are shy from making offers and shy for telling people what to do. They just think, again, it goes back to the content treadmill, but if I just give value, they'll eventually buy. It's not necessarily how it works. And so we understand the concept of a call to action on a sales page, for example, right? You need a button that tells people what to do. But the amount of live videos that I see where people don't make offers or calls to action is kind of astounding. And so that is one piece of the puzzle, is literally telling people what to do. As part of that, don't wait to the end. If you look at the psychology of a Facebook user, for example, and as you talked about already, they're looking for enjoyment. They're scrolling through their feed, they're getting little quick hits, and then they keep going. So if you've got this long live stream and you wait till the 40-minute mark before you tell them what to do, you've lost a significant amount of potential conversions. And so what I always say to people like this is within the first 15 seconds, tell people what you want them to do. It can be as simple as, I'm going live to talk about this thing. If you find this beneficial, send me a message.
Oh, I love that. And you do that in the beginning.
Very beginning.
So they have a choice to not finish the video because they, in their gut, know already they're sold,
100%.
Which happens to me all the time.
Yeah, they just need that permission to enter your inbox, for example. And if you're like, hey, if you resonate with what I'm about, what this message is, what I'm about to talk about, shoot me messages. Then you go and talk about the thing. And the amount of people who end up in your inbox even before you're done your live stream is amazing because you've given them permission, right? So that's one. The other big part of, again, going back to mindset, is we look at people and they go live, and let's say they have 400 live streams. I've done live streams where we've had 800-900 people on at a single time. In theory, you think that's good, right? Because you're oh my gosh, there's 800 people. That's amazing. But the reality is that's a crowd. And for the person that is one of 900, it doesn't feel that special. But when you go live and there's 5 people or 10 people, which is the case for the vast majority of people listening here, you're not going to go live and there's going to be 900 people there, which is good. When you go live and there's 2 people or 5 people or 10 people, those are still individuals. Those are still people that you can thank for joining. Those are still people that you can send a message to afterwards and let them know that you appreciate them watching your live videos. That is the little secret, is the big audiences, again, great for vanity and ego, but they don't necessarily translate into connections. So if I go live and 2 people are on it or 5 people are on it, I make it a point, if I see their name, to let them know that I appreciate them hopping on. And then the secret is I send them a message afterwards and I start a conversation. It could be as simple as, hey, Jim, I just want to say thank you so much for hopping on my live stream. By the way, what was helpful?
Yeah, you don't have to pitch. You can just ask them, if they, what was it? When you go live, let's just talk, I'll ask you a practical question because I use Ecom Live. Unless somebody messages or somebody comments, I can't see who they are. So for me, I do say, say hello to me, make sure, because I want to talk to people, as opposed to when I'm doing it, if I do it on my phone, which I don't like doing it on my phone because I love my setup. Then I can see who is joining me, and I can, even if they don't engage, because not everybody is trained to engage. You have to understand that. I think that a lot of people have these expectations that, oh, nobody's commenting. Oh, only 10 people watched me, but which is fine. Like majority of live streams,
Awesome.
as you said,
10 people.
Yeah, when I follow Mary Smith, and she might have 200. John Assaraf might have like 300 people watching, but I only have 10, and then of course it makes me feel so bad. But you know what? When I'm at that level as Mary or John, then I probably will have hundreds of people. But it's like small amount of people in the coaching world that get these kind of live streams in general. And the personal connection is powerful because yes, the conversation is where the sales happen. So what how do you get to know who is joining, or is there any tricks that you can, or strategies or secrets?
If you're on Ecamm, then I would just load up a second window on your computer with Facebook and watch that live stream, because it'll say who's watching it with you. So that's like,
very good. Yeah.
That's like a little practical tip. The other thing is tell people what you want them to do, which you just highlighted, which is, hey, if you're watching, let me know. But be specific. It's not just if you're watching, let me know. It's if you're going live to talk about a certain thing, then maybe you can ask them a question about that thing. Or if, for example, when I did that live yesterday for the dog sitters, groomers, whatever, it was like, hey, I want to make this live super specific to you. So in the comments, what are you? Are you a dog walker? Are you a dog sitter? Are you a dog groomer? Are you a dog, whatever? And then that was an easy thing for people to answer. And because it actually did make the live better, because then I could use their stories as examples, but also it gave me the opportunity to now go follow up with all these people who left a comment.
What is your stance on asking people to like, give me 3 in the comments if you're this and this? Do you use that? Do you like or hate it?
So I optimize for whatever, like I have a specific goal with each live. And so I don't do things like, hey, if you catch the replay, let me know below, unless that's what I'm optimizing for, like comments. So if I'm optimizing for comments, then I will game like the whole strategy. Like, hey, leave a replay if you're catching the replay. If you're live, let me know. Ask a series of questions. But if I'm not optimizing for comments, engagement, I'm optimizing for conversions. I don't do any of that stuff. So it's really, I look at this entire. And part of what I cover in Click Go Live is like, there's what you're saying, and then there's what you're communicating. And it's the two of those things that result in sales. And so I'm focused on what I'm saying, yes, but I'm also focused on like, how do I want people to feel? And so if I'm asking them to do things on a live stream, but I'm optimizing for a certain feeling and there's a disconnect, then that's when you end up with situations where like, hey, can you drop a 3? And no one drops a 3 because there's like a disconnect. And so I'm very intentional about like, what is the purpose of this live stream? Am I trying to build connection? Am I trying to get sales? Am I trying to grow my community? Am I just trying to like put goodwill out into the world? And then if that's the case, then what are the decisions I'm going to make? Am I going to hold my phone vertically? Am I going to hold my phone horizontally? Am I going to do my fancy setup? Am I going to be outside? Am I going to be in my office? Are my kids going to be around? Are they not going to be around? Like all of those decisions are then made by what is the actual goal.
Well, I love that because you just kind of broke down. I think a lot of people go live without actually thinking, what is the purpose? And this is what you're covering in Click and Go Live. Let's talk about that a little bit before we wrap up. What exactly it is. And guys, it's a no-brainer. The link is in the comments here. But just before you click, let us finish and tell you what's inside.
So it's a 2-part workshop. Part 1 is all about what to say. So it's the perfect live formula. So how to actually structure your live videos so that people watch and people do the thing that you want them to do. The other part of that is topics. So I think a lot of people don't know what to go live about, or they just like keep thinking, I gotta keep coming up with new ideas and new ideas and new ideas. The reality is you don't. So in that workshop, I talk about like the small things you need to go live about if you want to make sales and how to structure them. And then part 2 is everything else, which is what you're communicating. So how do you take this topic and then pick an environment that will create a certain mood or feeling for that topic? How do you hold your phone? How do you hold or what type of lighting should you use? Indoor, sunlight, studio lighting. All of these things are saying something, whether or not you like it or not. If you use a ring light, you are literally saying something to your audience. It's not good or bad, but you just need to be aware of what it's communicating. And so that is part 2 of the workshop. And then there's a bunch of bonuses that just make it super easy for anyone who's overwhelmed by tech or setup or any of that, because I don't want anyone to be overwhelmed by that stuff because it's not complicated. And so I just took my, at this point, 13 years of video production experience and boiled it into this 2-hour workshop. It's $37. And by the end of it, you'll have everything you need to get clients from your existing audience. You don't need a big audience. You don't need more leads. There's people in your audience right now who need what you have to offer. You just got to show up for them.
I think it's an absolute no-brainer, and very, very simply put, easy to understand, easy to implement, no overthinking. I am just thinking, what does my ring light says about me? On this note,
listen, I'm not going to spoil the secrets.
on this note, I'm so glad that you were my guest today. I really enjoyed our chat. I really believe that connection is important. I really believe that you don't need to show up professionally to create really good connection with your perfect people, convert your ideal clients. And if you start with yourself and then get to know who you're attracting through video, and through, you have to have some strategy, and that's why Click and Go Live is so perfect. And then figure things out in that way. You might end up with a really, really enjoyable, good business that makes you feel good and people who connect to you feel good to work with you. So Justin, thanks again for being my lovely guest.
Hey, everybody listening, I appreciate your time. And Juliette, I appreciate you bringing me on. This was fun.
It was my pleasure. And guys, I will see you next week in another episode of Show Up, Stand Out. See you later. Bye.